Night City doesn't welcome outsiders. It consumes them. A city built on contracts, credits, and control where flesh is optional and humanity is negotiable. Neon towers rise like monuments to excess, and beneath them, millions live connected, surveilled, and quietly owned. Magic doesn't exist here. At least, that's what the city believes. But somewhere between broken realities and fractured timelines, something tears through the veil. Not a ship, not a machine, a woman. Ciri of Sintra doesn't arrive through a gate or a portal designed for safety. She is thrown into Night City mid-blink, mid-fall, space folding around her like shattered glass. The city recoils as if wounded, systems flickering as something unregistered enters its domain. No implants, no ID, no permissions. Just steel, instinct, and power older than this world's code. Night City doesn't understand her. Its scanners can't classify her biology. Its cameras lose her in bursts of static. Its predictive models fail every time she moves somewhere she hasn't decided to be. She doesn't hack the city. She outruns it. Corporations sense the anomaly first. A woman appearing where she shouldn't exist, moving faster than optics can track, cutting through enhanced soldiers without touching their networks. To them, she isn't human. She's a threat to ownership itself. Ciri doesn't come to save this city. She doesn't know its rules, its factions, or its endless hierarchies of power. All she knows is survival in a world that hunts what it cannot control. Steel still cuts, fear still bleeds. And monsters wear different faces here. This is a city that believes everything can be bought. Tonight, it learns some things can only be challenged. This is what happens when Ciri enters Cyberpunk 2070. A world that doesn't believe in magic, Night City does not notice the tear at first. It should. Reality bends, air fractures. For half a second, gravity hesitates. Then the city keeps breathing. Traffic flows, advertisements cycle. Surveillance drones drift through rain-heavy air, blind to the rupture unfolding between two mega-buildings far above the street. Ciri emerges mid-step, not falling, not summoned, arriving. The world snaps into place around her like a clenched fist. Rain slams against metal and glass. Neon light burns her eyes for an instant before she adjusts. The ground beneath her boots is slick, unfamiliar, vibrating faintly with power lines and data conduits running through the structure itself. She lands in a crouch without sound. Her sword is already in her hand. The green fracture behind her collapses inward, folding space back into something this city can tolerate. The air stinks of ozone and hot circuitry. Ciri straightens slowly, eyes scanning, posture relaxed but ready. This place is wrong. Not cursed, not enchanted. Something else. She feels it immediately, the absence of magic, or rather, its suppression, like standing in a field where the wind refuses to blow. The world still functions, but something ancient has been paved over, buried beneath layers of metal, signal, and artificial light. Ciri steps forward. Her boots splash through shallow puddles reflecting vertical streets of light. Towering structures rise on all sides, stacked and layered far beyond what Sintra or Novigrad ever dreamed of. No walls, no keeps, just endless height, endless ownership. The city watches, not with eyes, but with systems. A camera pivots overhead. Ciri stops moving. The lens sweeps past her position, then pauses. Red light flickers. Her medallion hums faintly, not in warning but recognition. Something is trying to classify her. She shifts half a step sideways. The camera glitches. Static tears across its feed for less than a heartbeat. When it stabilizes, she is no longer where the system predicted she would be. The lens rotates again, confused. Ciri is already gone. She moves across the rooftop with practiced silence, weight balanced, footsteps measured. Her armor creaks softly, old leather and metal refusing to fully conform to this steel world. She does not rush. Speed is a tool, not a habit. Below her, the city churns. Hover vehicles cut through rain-streaked air. Digital billboards scream color and desire. Voices echo upward, amplified, distorted, selling dreams that taste hollow even from this distance. Ciri pauses at the edge of the building. Far below, armed men in uniform armor move through the streets in coordinated patrols. Not soldiers, not guards, something worse. They move like men trained to protect property, not lives. She watches them for several long seconds, memorizing patterns. Their weapons hum with contained energy. Their armor is thick but inflexible. They rely on sensors, predictive movement, networked awareness. They would be easy. That worries her. Ciri steps back from the edge as a low vibration passes through the structure. A heavy vehicle settles onto a nearby landing pad with a hiss of hydraulics. Voices follow, sharp, impatient, corporate. She doesn't understand the language fully, but she doesn't need to. Tone carries meaning. Authority without loyalty. Control without responsibility. She moves again. The interior of the building smells like recycled air and antiseptic metal. Hallways are clean to the point of hostility. Lights hum softly overhead, casting everything in a sterile glow that flattens depth and shadow. Ciri dislikes it immediately. Her reflection flashes in a mirrored wall panel. White hair, damp at the ends, eyes sharp, unafraid. Armor scratched, scarred, real. She looks like a relic here. Good. Relics survive by being underestimated. A door slides open ahead of her without warning. Ciri freezes. Two men step out mid-conversation, armored and augmented, faces partially replaced by chrome. Their eyes lock onto her at the same time. Silence stretches. One of them opens his mouth. Ciri moves. She crosses the distance between them before either finishes drawing breath. Her sword hilt strikes the first man's throat, crushing augmented cartilage with a dull crack. He drops without a sound. The second reaches for his weapon. Ciri twists, blade flashing once. Not deep, not lethal. The flat of her sword slams into his temple with enough force to shut him down instantly. He collapses beside his partner, unconscious, breathing shallow but steady. Ciri steps back, listening. No alarms, no shouting, no response. She exhales slowly. This world is loud, but slow to react. She kneels, examining their equipment with professional curiosity. The armor is advanced but rigid. The weapons are powerful but dependent on targeting systems. She senses no magic in them, only layered complexity, predictable complexity. Ciri stands and moves on, leaving them where they fell. As she advances deeper into the structure, the sensation grows stronger. Pressure, resistance. Not physical, conceptual. This place is designed to reject the unregistered, to define existence through access rights and permissions. Ciri has neither. Somewhere deep within the building, systems flag her presence as an anomaly, a ghost, a variable without origin. Data shifts. Security protocols adjust. Corporate attention begins to focus. Ciri feels none of it. She only knows one thing with certainty. This city believes it owns everything inside it, and that belief is about to be tested. The city starts to watch back. Night City does not panic when something breaks its rules. It recalculates. The two unconscious men are found 9 minutes later. By then, Ciri is already 6 levels deeper into the structure, moving through service corridors never meant to be used by anyone with intent. The city's systems flagged the incident as a statistical anomaly. No weapons discharged, no alarms triggered, no biometric match. The report is marked low priority. That changes when the cameras begin disagreeing with each other. On one floor, a lens records movement where another insists nothing passed. Predictive models fail to reconcile the gap. Pathing algorithms return impossible vectors. A human-sized object appears to occupy 2 locations within the same second. Night City does not call this magic, it calls it an error. Ciri feels the shift before she sees it. The air tightens. Not magically, mechanically. Frequencies change. Lights adjust brightness in subtle, almost imperceptible steps. Doors hesitate before opening. The building is no longer passive. She pauses at a junction, listening. Footsteps echo somewhere above her now. Coordinated, measured, not rushed. Someone has decided this intrusion is worth attention, but not yet worth noise. Smart. Ciri moves again, drifting upward this time, following vertical access routes that feel closer to chimneys than stairwells. She moves hand over hand through maintenance shafts, slick with condensation, ignoring the hum of power lines inches from her shoulders. This city hides its bones behind layers of polish, but the bones are still there. She emerges into a wide interior atrium. The space is cavernous, hollowed out and filled with light that pretends to be warmth. Corporate banners hang between steel pillars. Holographic displays rotate lazily, advertising promises that mean nothing to her. Ciri crosses the floor without hurry. A drone drops from the ceiling ahead of her. She stops. The machine hovers, rotors whispering, optics shifting through visible and invisible spectrums. A red beam sweeps across her chest, then her face. Symbols flicker along its casing as it attempts to assign her a category. Employee, contractor, asset, threat. None apply. The drone's movements stutter. Ciri steps forward. The drone fires. The shot cracks through the air like thunder, energy tearing a scorched line across the floor where she stood a heartbeat earlier. She is already gone, space folding as she blinks sideways, reappearing behind the machine mid-motion. Her sword flashes once. Metal splits. Sparks scatter. The drone crashes to the ground in two lifeless halves. The building finally reacts. Red light floods the atrium. Panels slide open along the walls. Heavier drones deploy. Bulkier and armed, their movements less graceful but more aggressive. Somewhere deeper in the structure, something shifts into an alert state. Ciri exhales slowly. So, that's how this city hunts. She moves. This time, she doesn't vanish completely. She lets them see her just enough. A silhouette at the edge of a corridor, a reflection in polished steel, a shape where no shape should be. She wants to learn how they think. The drones pursue in patterns, overlapping fields of fire, predictive angles, reliance on data continuity. They expect her to move like prey. She doesn't. She blinks forward through a wall of suppressive fire, reappearing on a balcony above them. Her sword cuts downward, severing power conduits with surgical precision. The lights die instantly. Darkness slams into the space like a held breath released. Ciri listens. Mechanical units hesitate without visual input. Backup systems kick in, but slower than expected. She drops among them, moving silently. Blade striking joints, optics, rotors. She disables without excess. Within seconds, the atrium is quiet again. Emergency lighting sputters on, painting everything in harsh red shadows. Ciri stands still at the center of the wreckage, sword lowered, breathing steady. This city is dangerous, but it is not adaptable. Not yet. She presses onward, deeper now, toward spaces that feel more guarded, more intentional. The air grows colder. Walls thicken. Access points narrow. This is where the city hides what it cannot afford to lose. Somewhere far above, in a room designed for command rather than labor, a man watches delayed footage with narrowed eyes. He doesn't understand what he's seeing. A woman without implants, without ID, without signal footprint. She moves like a ghost and hits like a demolition charge. He orders a response upgrade. Ciri feels it immediately. The pressure spikes again, heavier this time. Not localized, systemic. The city isn't reacting to her anymore. It's adjusting its priorities. She emerges into a data vault, a cathedral of servers rising like monoliths, humming with stored lives and locked secrets. Heat radiates from them in waves. The smell of ozone is stronger here. Ciri walks slowly between the pillars. She doesn't know what this place is, but she knows what it feels like. Power without accountability, knowledge hoarded behind walls. A monster's lair. She reaches out, fingers brushing cool metal. Her medallion vibrates faintly, unsettled by something deeper than technology. The systems here hum with intent. Ownership, permanence. Footsteps echo behind her. Not drones. Men. Heavily augmented. Armor integrated into flesh. Weapons humming with contained force. They spread out as they enter, confident, disciplined. One of them speaks. "Stand down," he says, voice distorted through machinery. "You are in violation of..." Ciri moves before he finishes. She blinks past the first line of fire, reappearing inside their formation. Her sword sings once, twice, 3 times, quick, precise, devastating. She uses the environment as much as her blade, kicking one man into a server pillar hard enough to shatter bone through metal, sending another sprawling with a strike to the spine. They are faster than the guards. Smarter, still not fast enough. When the last one falls, the vault is silent except for the hum of data and the soft drip of rain leaking in through shattered ceiling panels. Ciri stands among them, expression unchanged. Now the city understands. This is not an error. This is an intrusion, and Night City does not forgive intrusions. Somewhere, something far larger begins to move. Night City does not send police when something threatens its foundations. It sends assets. The data vault seals behind Ciri with a sound like a tomb closing. Thick plates slide into place. Signal dampeners activate. The hum of the servers deepens, shifting pitch as systems reroute power and priority. Ciri feels it immediately. Not fear, focus. The city has decided she is no longer an anomaly. She is a problem. Lights dim across the vault, replaced by a cold, directional glow that tracks movement rather than space. The air grows heavier, saturated with electromagnetic interference that prickles across her skin. Her medallion vibrates faintly, confused by a threat that does not exist in any bestiary she knows. Ciri moves anyway. She walks, slow and deliberate, between the server monoliths as if the space belongs to her. Somewhere beyond the walls, algorithms rewrite themselves around her presence. Combat simulations spin up and discard thousands of failed outcomes in seconds. None of them account for intent. A voice fills the vault. Not amplified, not shouted. Controlled, unregistered entity, it says. You are in violation of corporate security law. Surrender immediately. Ciri stops. She tilts her head slightly, listening to the tone more than the words. There is no anger there. No threat, just certainty. She turns in place, sword loose in her grip. I don't know your laws, she says quietly, and I don't surrender. The response is immediate. Panels in the floor retract. Heavy shapes rise from below. Tall, angular machines wrapped in layered armor, limbs reinforced with hydraulics and magnetic stabilizers. Their optics glow a flat, predatory red. These are not guards. These are solutions. They move as one. The first machine fires before it fully clears the floor. A concentrated blast that tears through the space Ciri occupied an instant earlier. She blinks sideways, space snapping her into existence behind a server pillar as the blast scorches metal into slag. She exhales. So the city learns. Ciri moves. She blinks forward again, closing distance in impossible angles, appearing between two machines mid-rotation. Her sword bites deep into exposed joints, severing control lines with precision learned from years of fighting things much larger than herself. The machine collapses. The others adapt. They spread out, overlapping fields of fire, predictive targeting, adjusting in real time. They don't chase her anymore. They hurt her. Smart. Ciri doesn't fight them head-on. She breaks line of sight. She blinks upward, reappearing atop a server column, then vanishes again as a barrage turns the metal beneath her feet into molten ruin. She reappears behind another machine, strikes once, then retreats before its countermeasures can deploy. The vault fills with smoke and heat. Emergency systems struggle to compensate. Still, the machines advance. One of them changes tactics, launching a net of hard light filaments that expand across the vault like a spider's web. The strands hum with contained energy, designed to disrupt nervous systems and immobilize enhanced targets. Ciri lands inside the lattice. For a fraction of a second, the city thinks it has won. Then the air fractures. Green energy ripples outward from Ciri's position, not explosive but absolute. Space folds inward, the filaments snapping and collapsing as if cut by invisible blades. She steps through the remains of the trap untouched. Her eyes are cold now, not angry, decided. She moves through the machines with ruthless efficiency. She uses their weight against them, redirecting charges, severing limbs, forcing collisions. She never overextends, never wastes motion. Every strike has purpose. When the last machine falls, the vault is ruined. Servers burn. Fire suppression systems hiss uselessly against the damage. The city's prized data bleeds into corrupted memory. priceless information dying quietly in the dark. Ciri stands alone amid the wreckage. Somewhere above, executives argue. Some demand escalation, others demand containment. No one suggests negotiation. They cannot negotiate with something they do not own. A new directive is issued. Ownership enforcement. Ciri feels it as a change in pressure, not around her, but across the entire structure. Elevators lock, corridors seal, external access points close. The building is no longer a place of work. It is a cage. She moves again, climbing toward higher levels where the air grows cleaner and colder. The architecture changes subtly, less utilitarian, more symbolic, power made visible, wealth rendered as space. This is where decisions are made. She emerges into a wide observation deck overlooking the city. Glass walls stretch from floor to ceiling, offering a view of Night City in all its endless sprawl. Neon arteries pulse far below. The city looks beautiful from here. It always does from the top. Ciri steps closer to the glass. For a moment, she allows herself to feel it. The scale, the cruelty disguised as order. The way this city devours without teeth. Behind her, something moves. Not machines, people. A new unit enters the deck. Heavily augmented men and women in matte black armor, their movements fluid, coordinated. These are not automated solutions. These are professionals. Their leader removes his helmet, revealing eyes more machine than flesh. He studies Ciri with open curiosity. "You don't belong here," he says, "but neither does chaos." Ciri turns slowly to face them. She does not raise her sword. She smiles faintly. "You mistake me," she says. "I'm very good at chaos." They attack together. This time, the fight is louder, faster, deadlier. These soldiers adapt on the fly, adjusting to her teleportation, anticipating reappearances, forcing her into tighter spaces. Ciri bleeds for the first time, a shallow cut along her arm. She doesn't slow. She accelerates. The world fractures repeatedly as she blinks through the engagement, striking from angles no one should be able to reach. She disarms, disables, and overwhelms, pushing past her limits without breaking control. When it ends, bodies litter the observation deck. The leader kneels, one arm useless, breathing hard. Ciri stands over him, sword at his throat. "You think you own this city," she says. "That means you think you own me." She steps back and turns away. Behind her, the glass wall cracks. Night City sprawls below, ignorant and alive. Somewhere deep within the city's core systems, a new priority is logged. Ciri of Sintra status. Hostile entity escalation authorized. Night City is done observing. Now it will try to break her. The price of control. Night City does not escalate with anger. It escalates with budgets. The moment Ciri's status shifts to hostile entity, systems that have not been touched in decades come online. Black programs buried beneath layers of legality and corporate deniability wake up and stretch. These are not security measures meant for criminals. They are contingency assets. Ciri feels the change as she moves through the upper levels of the tower. The air no longer hums with passive power. It tightens like a muscle flexing. Elevators lock permanently. Stairwells seal. External access points vanish behind reinforced plating. The building is no longer a workplace. It is an instrument. She reaches a narrow sky bridge connecting two spires. Below her, the city pulses with artificial life, ignorant of the recalibration happening above it. Neon traffic continues to flow. People laugh. Deals are made. None of them know they are being protected from her, or from what the city is about to do. The first shot comes without warning. Not a blast, not a bullet. A pressure wave slams into Ciri's side, throwing her into the reinforced railing hard enough to dent metal. Pain flares across her ribs. She recovers instantly, rolling to her feet as the air around her shimmers. Something invisible is targeting her. She blinks. The next strike hits where she was a heartbeat ago, pulverizing the bridge surface into fragments. She reappears behind a structural column, breathing steady, eyes sharp. This is new. She closes her eyes briefly, focusing not on what she sees, but on what she feels. The pressure is not magical, but it is precise, directional, calculated. Corporate psionics, not sorcery, not quite science. A weaponized approximation. Figures step into view at the far end of the bridge. Humans mostly, but heavily altered. Their armor is matte white, marked with symbols she does not recognize. Their movements are slow, deliberate, confident. One of them raises a hand. The air bends. Ciri vanishes as the bridge buckles under invisible force, reappearing mid-air above them. She twists, landing hard, sword flashing as she charges. The force hits her again, harder. Her feet leave the ground. For a moment, she is pinned in the air, muscles straining against pressure that does not touch her body but still holds her in place. Her vision blurs at the edges. Ciri snarls and forces the blink. Space tears. She rips herself free, reappearing behind the unit leader, blade driving forward. The man barely turns in time, armor splitting as her sword bites deep. He falls without a sound. The others react instantly. They do not panic. They converge. Ciri moves faster now, blinking repeatedly, chaining jumps together in rapid succession. Each teleport fractures the air with green light. She strikes between jumps, cutting tendons, disabling weapons, forcing the unit into disarray. Still, they adapt. One of them anticipates her next appearance and swings early, catching her shoulder with a shock baton. Pain tears through her nerves. Her muscles spasm. She stumbles, only for a moment. Ciri plants her feet and releases a pulse of energy outward. Not refined, not controlled, raw. The force slams into the remaining soldiers, hurling them across the bridge like broken dolls. Silence follows. Ciri leans briefly against the railing, breath steady but heavier now. Blood darkens her sleeve. The city has finally drawn blood. That means it's serious. She straightens and looks out over Night City again. From this height, the city seems endless, an ocean of light and ambition. Somewhere out there, decisions are being made about her worth, her threat level, her cost. She smiles faintly. They are spending a lot to stop her. That means she's winning. Deep within the city's corporate core, emergency councils convene. Arguments erupt, loss projections spike. Someone suggests evacuation protocols. Someone else suggests escalation beyond the tower. The word containment is replaced with neutralization. Ciri moves on. She descends now, slipping out of the tower's upper sanctum through maintenance routes never meant to be used by anyone important. The city's focus is still above her, recalibrating defenses, redeploying assets. She uses the distraction. When she emerges back into the open air, the rain feels different against her skin. Heavier, colder, real, street level, the city's true body. Crowds part instinctively as she walks among them, though none of them know why. Their implants hum, unsettled by something they cannot define. Cameras lose her in the noise of a million moving signals. This is where Night City is strongest and weakest. Above her, corporate towers loom like watchful gods. Below them, life goes on. Ciri disappears into the crowd, white hair vanishing beneath neon and shadow. Night City has tried to crush her from above. Now it will learn what happens when the fight moves below. Street-level gods, Night City does not belong to its towers. It belongs to the streets. Ciri feels the difference the moment she steps fully into the crowd. The air is thicker here, saturated with heat, exhaust, and desperation. Neon signs flicker overhead like false stars. Music bleeds from open doors. Voices overlap in a dozen languages, layered with static and distortion. This is not the city that makes decisions. This is the city that survives them. Ciri moves with the flow, cloak drawn close, sword hidden beneath fabric and shadow. People brush past her without noticing, their attention swallowed by their own concerns. To them, she is just another figure passing through. That illusion lasts exactly 3 minutes. A ripple moves through the crowd. Not fear, recognition. The kind born of pattern, not knowledge. Heads turn. Augmented eyes track her longer than they should. Conversations quiet as she passes. Someone has put a price on her. She senses it in the way people reposition themselves, in the subtle shifts of posture, in the sudden absence of casual movement in places that should be loud. The street is setting a trap. Ciri stops walking. She turns slowly, eyes sweeping the space around her. Market stalls, Fire escapes. Rooftops just high enough to hide silhouettes. She counts them without effort. Too many. She exhales. A shot rings out. The crowd explodes into motion as a round tears through the space where her head was an instant earlier. Ciri blinks sideways, reappearing atop a vendor stall as panic floods the street. Screams. Shattered glass. The illusion of normalcy collapses instantly. The hunters reveal themselves. They drop from rooftops and step out from alleys, weapons already raised. Enhanced reflexes. Custom chrome. Tactical awareness sharpened by years of street warfare. Edge runners. Not corporate assets. Not soldiers. Independent predators. They fan out, cutting off exits with practiced ease. This isn't a kill squad. It's a test. Ciri stands at the center of it, rain slicking her hair to her face, neon reflections dancing across steel and leather. She doesn't reach for her sword. Not yet. One of them speaks, voice amplified slightly. Bounty says alive pays more. He says, but dead still pays. Ciri tilts her head. You're not ready, she says. They fire anyway. Ciri vanishes as gunfire shreds the stall beneath her. She reappears behind the nearest attacker, striking fast and hard. Her fist connects with augmented jaw, snapping the man sideways into a wall with bone-crushing force. She draws her sword mid-motion. The street becomes chaos. Bullets trace glowing arcs through rain-heavy air. Energy weapons scream. Ciri blinks through it all, reappearing between attackers, striking, vanishing, repositioning. She never stays long enough to be targeted twice. An edge runner lunges with monowire, the filament slicing toward her throat. Ciri twists, blade flashing once. The wire snaps. The man stares at his severed weapon for half a second before she kicks him into the pavement. Another charges with mantis blades extended. She meets him head on. Steel rings against steel as her sword deflects the first strike. She pivots inside his guard and drives her hilt into the base of his skull. He drops instantly. Still, they adapt. The remaining edge runners spread out, using overlapping fire and predictive movement. They've learned her rhythm. They're trying to force her into a mistake. Ciri feels it and smiles. She stops blinking. For a single, dangerous moment, she stays. Gunfire converges. She releases energy outward in a sharp pulse. Not wide, not uncontrolled. Precise. The shockwave slams into the attackers, throwing them off balance, disrupting targeting systems and knocking several flat. Ciri moves through the opening like a blade through cloth. When it's over, the street is wrecked. Vehicles smolder. Neon signs spark. Bodies lie scattered across rain-soaked pavement. Alive but broken, the crowd has vanished, swallowed by alleys and doorways. Ciri stands alone again, breathing steady. Expression unchanged. She cleans her blade on a scrap of fabric and sheaths it. Around her, the city groans as emergency systems struggle to catch up. This was not corporate escalation. This was Night City's immune system responding. And it failed. High above, feeds replay the engagement from a dozen angles. Analysts slow footage frame by frame, trying to understand what they're seeing. A woman who moves faster than optics, who fights without implants, who dismantles elite edge runners like they're inexperienced recruits. The conclusion spreads quietly through the city's underground. This isn't a bounty, it's a mistake. Ciri walks away from the wreckage, vanishing into a service tunnel before authorities arrive. Her arm aches. Her ribs protest. Blood still seeps beneath her armor. She ignores it. Pain is familiar. What isn't familiar is the city's hunger. The way it devours its own in pursuit of control. The way it turns survival into a commodity. Night City wanted to own her. Now it wants to erase her. Ciri emerges onto a high overpass overlooking miles of tangled streets and glowing districts. The rain has eased. Steam rises from asphalt like breath. She looks out over the city, eyes cold and focused. This place breeds monsters. Good, she's killed worse. The city closes its fist. Night City does not bleed when it is wounded. It tightens. The street fight is erased within minutes. Emergency crews arrive first, sealing off the damage. Then come the cleaners, scrubbing data before blood dries. Footage vanishes. Witness statements are buried beneath automated noise. By dawn, the intersection looks untouched. Only the absence remains. Ciri feels the shift as she moves through the underlevels. The city's rhythm has changed. Traffic patterns redirect subtly. Pedestrian density thins where she walks. Doors hesitate before opening, then open anyway. She is no longer being hunted. She is being contained. Her medallion hums again, uneasy. Not danger. Pressure. The sense of being slowly surrounded by something too large to see all at once. She stops in the shadow beneath an elevated transit line and listens. The city listens back. A low-frequency pulse rolls through the concrete beneath her feet. Not sound, not vibration. A signal meant to speak to implants and infrastructure at the same time. Lights flicker, vehicles slow, drones pause mid-air, hovering like insects caught in amber. Ciri steps forward. The street ahead of her empties with unnatural speed. Shops shutter themselves. Doors seal. Neon signs dim to emergency glow. The city is creating space. A kill zone. Figures emerge at the far end of the street. Not edge runners, not corporate guards. Something in between. They move in silence, armored coats flowing over layered chrome and hardened flesh. Their faces are mostly human, but their eyes glow faintly with embedded optics tuned beyond visible light. These are people who have sold pieces of themselves in exchange for certainty. Corporate hunters. One of them raises a hand. The air tightens. Ciri braces as the pressure hits, stronger than before, more refined. Her knees bend involuntarily. The city is pushing directly against her nervous system now, exploiting the same principles as the psionic unit in the tower, but scaled up, distributed, city-wide. She grits her teeth and forces herself upright. "So," she mutters, "that's how you do it." She blinks. The space around her fractures violently as she tears herself free of the pressure field, reappearing behind the hunters in a burst of green light. She doesn't wait. She charges. The hunters react instantly, weapons snapping up, movements precise and coordinated. They don't panic when she appears behind them. They expected it. One swings early, forcing her to divert her strike. She adapts. The fight is brutal and close. No wide spaces. No theatrics. Steel and flesh collide in tight arcs. Ciri's blade flashes, cutting through armor joints, severing tendons, exploiting moments of overconfidence. One hunter catches her with a counterstrike to the ribs. Pain flares. Another lands a shock round against her thigh, numbing muscle. Ciri stumbles. Just once. She answers with a blink so short it feels like a stutter in reality, reappearing inside their formation. Her sword drives upward, then sideways, then down. 3 precise strikes. 3 bodies fall. The remaining hunters retreat, reforming their line instead of breaking. Smart. They don't chase, they don't rush. They activate something. The city responds. The pressure returns, heavier now, layered with something else. A dampening effect. Her blinks feel resistant, like pushing through water instead of air. Ciri's eyes narrow. They are learning. She moves anyway, forcing the blink again and again, burning through resistance with sheer will. Each jump costs more than the last. Her breathing grows heavier. Sweat mixes with rain along her brow. The hunters press in. Ciri stops retreating. She plants her feet and releases everything she's been holding back. Green energy erupts outward in a violent surge. Not focused, not elegant. Space tears. The ground cracks. Windows shatter up and down the street. The hunters are thrown back like leaves in a storm, their formation annihilated in a heartbeat. The pressure vanishes. For a moment, Night City goes quiet. Ciri stands in the center of the devastation, chest rising and falling, sword buried in cracked concrete to steady herself. Her armor is torn. Blood runs freely now. She feels it, exhaustion creeping in at the edges. She laughs softly. That was expensive. Above her, something changes. The city does not reassert control. It withdraws, signals drop. Drones retreat. The pressure fades entirely, replaced by something colder. Distance. Ciri straightens and looks up at the skyline. Towers loom impassive. Their lights steady once more. To an outside observer, nothing has happened. But she knows better. Night City has stopped trying to crush her directly, which means it is preparing something worse. Something permanent. Ciri wipes blood from her face and pulls her cloak tighter as she moves into the shadows once more. She does not slow. She cannot afford to, because now the city isn't trying to stop her. It's trying to remove her from the future entirely. The future file. Night City does not fear what it can kill. It fears what it cannot predict. Ciri feels it before anything touches her. The pressure is gone now, replaced by absence. Streets flow normally again. Traffic resumes. Neon flares back to life. The city pretends nothing is wrong. That pretense is the warning. She moves through a maintenance tunnel beneath an abandoned transit hub, boots splashing through stagnant water. Her breathing has slowed, controlled again, but her body aches in ways it hasn't in years. This city has forced her to spend power instead of skill. That is always the goal. Above her, in rooms she will never see, Night City's corporate minds do not debate how to kill her. They debate how to erase her. She appears nowhere in official records. No DNA match, no biometrics, no digital shadow. The city's greatest strength, total surveillance, has become a liability, so they changed the rules. A new project is authorized, old enough to be myth, expensive enough to be buried beneath layers of legality. Its purpose is not enforcement. It is correction. Ciri emerges onto a quiet street far from the corporate core. Old buildings lean inward like tired animals. Neon signage flickers half dead. This part of the city survives on neglect. Perfect. She pauses as her medallion vibrates sharply. Not danger. Attention. The air feels heavier again, but not localized. It stretches forward, backward, through time itself. Something is aligning. Preparing. Ciri frowns. She has felt this before. Not in battle. In moments where fate itself shifts direction. A low hum rolls through the street, deep enough to vibrate bone. Lights flicker in synchronized waves. The world seems to lag, like reality struggling to keep pace with itself. A figure steps out of the darkness ahead, not armored, not augmented, human. He wears a long coat threaded with faint circuitry, eyes reflecting layers of data Ciri cannot see. He does not reach for a weapon. He does not threaten her. He smiles. "You're difficult to model," he says calmly. "That makes you expensive." Ciri shifts her stance slightly. "Who are you?" "An editor," he replies. "I correct futures that don't fit." Behind him, the air distorts. Shapes emerge, ghostly at first, then solid. Machines unlike anything she's fought so far. Sleek, minimal, not designed for combat, designed for deletion. The editor gestures casually. "We don't kill you," he says. "We remove the possibility that you ever mattered." The machines activate. Reality fractures. Ciri blinks instinctively and stumbles. For the first time, her teleport does not land cleanly. Space resists, dragging her halfway through the jump before snapping her back violently. Pain lances through her skull. She gasps. The editor watches with detached curiosity. "Temporal dampening," he says. "You move between moments. We tighten the gaps." Ciri grits her teeth. So that's it. Night City isn't trying to stop her. It's trying to rewrite her relevance. The machines advance silently, projecting fields that distort causality itself. Ciri swings her sword and strikes true, but the blade passes through a shimmer where metal should be, the target phasing out of sequence. She adjusts, strikes again. This time, it hits. The machine shudders, fractures, collapses into static debris that evaporates seconds later, leaving no remains. The editor raises an eyebrow. Interesting. More machines step forward. Ciri forces herself to focus, not on movement, but on timing. She waits until the machines commit, until their fields overlap, then blinks not forward or sideways, but backward. The air screams as she tears herself out of the dampening zone, reappearing behind the editor in a burst of green light. Her sword stops inches from his throat. He does not flinch. "Careful," he says softly. "If you kill me, the protocol escalates." Ciri studies him for a long moment. Then she steps back. The editor exhales, almost amused. "You're learning," he says. Good. That means the next phase will be educational. The machines withdraw instantly, dissolving into nothing. The pressure vanishes. The street returns to normal as if nothing happened. The editor steps back into the shadows. We'll see which future keeps you, he says. Then he's gone. Ciri stands alone in the street, heart hammering now, her composure cracked but not broken. The city hums around her, indifferent, alive. She looks at her trembling hand. Night City has crossed a boundary no monster ever dared. It is not content to kill her, it wants to make sure she never changes anything again. Ciri lifts her head, eyes burning with quiet fury. Try, she whispers, because if this city wants to edit the future, it will have to survive her past first. Night City does not strike immediately after the editor disappears. It waits. Systems recalibrate quietly. Traffic flows, feeds normalize. Corporate towers glow as if nothing has happened. The city pretends the encounter never occurred. That silence is deliberate. Ciri moves through the lower districts without urgency, but she feels it now. The pressure isn't on her body anymore. It's ahead of her. Every path she considers feels narrower, more resistant, as if the city itself is trying to guide her toward absence. She tests it. She turns down an alley that should lead to a market hub. It doesn't. The street loops back on itself after 2 blocks, architecture subtly rearranged. Not physically, digitally. Signage shifts. Navigation implants reroute foot traffic. The city nudges probability away from her intent. Ciri stops and exhales slowly. So that's how you do it, she murmured. Night City isn't chasing her, it's starving her of consequence. Every time she intervenes, systems delay response just long enough to make it meaningless. Crimes complete seconds before she arrives. Targets vanish into protected zones that seal automatically. Information decays faster than she can follow it. She's being edited out of relevance. Ciri climbs onto a fire escape and looks out over the city. From here, the skyline feels flatter, less alive, as if Night City is smoothing itself, sanding down anomalies that disrupt its preferred outcomes. That includes her. She closes her eyes and focuses inward, not on the city, not on resistance, but on memory. Sintra burning, running through worlds that tried to cage her. Monsters that believed inevitability was strength. She opens her eyes. Wrong lesson, she says. Ciri does something Night City did not model. She stops reacting. Instead of moving through the city, she moves against its narrative. She targets nothing important, no executive, no infrastructure, no systems the city values. She helps. Quietly. She pulls a child out from under a collapsed scaffold before emergency services reroute away. She disables a gang ambush before it begins, then vanishes before anyone can record it. She guides lost people through blackout zones where navigation fails. Small actions, human actions. The city struggles to contextualize them. These events do not propagate. They do not create measurable disruption. They don't threaten ownership. But they ripple outward in ways Night City's models can't flatten. Stories spread without data. People talk. Patterns emerge that don't rely on systems. The editor notices. Ciri feels him again, watching from somewhere beyond the present moment. The pressure returns faintly, not hostile, but uncertain. Night City tightens the dampening field. Ciri feels it resist her blinks more aggressively now, trying to anchor her to linear time. She adapts, shortening jumps, chaining them through micro-moments instead of distance. It costs her, but it works. She moves toward the corporate core, not to attack it, but to exist near it, to be seen. The editor appears again atop a high overpass overlooking the city's central districts. This time, he doesn't smile. You're contaminating projections, he says. You're creating futures that don't converge. Good, Ciri replies, means you're not done. You don't understand, he says. We don't need to erase you completely, just enough that nothing you do matters. Ciri steps closer. That's the difference between us, she says. I don't need everything to matter. She blinks past him, not to strike, but to stand where he was looking, at the city, at the data streams, at the future being written in light and code. Ciri raises her sword, not at him, but at the space itself. She cuts. Not flesh, not machine, probability. Green light tears across the air, slicing through the dampening field like a wound. The city convulses, not violently, but conceptually. Systems stutter. Predictive models fracture. The editor staggers, eyes wide for the first time. "That shouldn't be possible," he whispers. Ciri lowers her blade. "You keep trying to control the future," she says. "You never ask if it wants you." The editor vanishes again, but this time, not cleanly. Static tears at his outline as he's pulled out of the moment. Night City reels. Not broken, not defeated, but uncertain. Ciri stands alone above the city, exhaustion pressing heavy now. She feels the cost of what she's done settling into her bones. This world is fighting her on a level she cannot dominate forever. That's fine. She doesn't need forever. She looks out at Night City, at the millions of lives moving through it, choosing paths the city only pretends to allow. Night City tried to remove her from the future. Instead, she's made the future unstable. And instability is the one thing this city cannot own. The last stable timeline. Night City does not adapt again. It commits. After the cut-through probability, the city's systems stopped trying to predict Ciri at all. Models that once recalculated around her presence are sealed. Futures are no longer explored. They are chosen. Ciri feels the shift as a sudden stillness, like standing in the eye of a storm that has decided where it will strike. The air no longer resists her blinks. It ignores them. Space stops fighting back because time itself has been constrained. She understands immediately. The city has stopped chasing outcomes. It has selected one. A protocol activates deep beneath the corporate core, older than most of the towers above it. Not a weapon, not an AI, a lock. Night City begins collapsing possibility. Entire districts slip into rigid loops. Traffic lights repeat the same cycles with mechanical precision. Crowds move in familiar patterns, repeating micro-behaviors unconsciously. Conversations echo with déjà vu. The city isn't frozen, it's fixed. Ciri walks through a plaza and watches a man drop a coin. It rolls the same way every time. A woman checks her wrist display at the same second. Again and again, the future has narrowed to a single acceptable path, and Ciri is not part of it. She feels the weight settle on her like a verdict. Not pain, not pressure, inevitability. Every step she takes feels irrelevant, as if the world is already accounting for her absence. The editor appears one final time, standing calmly at the center of the plaza as everything around him repeats. "This is as far as you go," he says. "One future. Stable, profitable, predictable." Ciri circles him slowly. "And where am I in it?" He doesn't answer. She already knows. The city doesn't need to erase her now. It just needs to ensure that nothing she does can alter the selected outcome. She can live. She can fight. She can save people. It won't matter. Ciri grips her sword tighter. This is worse than death. She closes her eyes and reaches backward, not through space, but through herself. Through every moment where she survived worlds that tried to cage her. Through every place she refused to stay contained. She opens her eyes. "No," she says. The editor sighs. "You can't break this," he says. "You're standing inside the future." Ciri steps forward. Then she stops blinking. She does something reckless. She stays. She allows the timeline to close around her, lets inevitability settle into her bones, lets the city believe it has succeeded for one breath. Then she moves. Not forward, not sideways, not backward, out. The blink tears something fundamental apart. Green light rips through the plaza, through the repeating loops, through the locked future itself. The stable timeline fractures like glass under pressure. The editor screams. The city stutters. Fixed behaviors collapse into chaos. People stumble as memory reasserts itself. Systems overload trying to reconcile futures they were forbidden to calculate. Night City panics for the first time. Ciri drops to one knee, blood dripping from her nose, vision swimming. She did not win. She forced a stalemate at a cost she feels deep in her chest. The editor is gone. The lock is broken, but the city is furious now. Ciri rises slowly, steadying herself. Night City has lost control of the future. There is only one thing it can do next. It can burn the present, a future that refuses to stay owned. Night City does not scream when the lock breaks. It fractures quietly. Systems designed to enforce the chosen timeline collapse under their own certainty. Predictive engines loop endlessly, unable to agree on what comes next. Infrastructure hesitates. Corporate AIs stall, trapped between futures they were never meant to calculate. For the first time, Night City doesn't know what happens next. Ciri stands in the aftermath, breath shallow but controlled, blood drying beneath her nose. The plaza around her feels unstable now, not looping, not fixed, but uncertain in a way the city hasn't allowed in decades. People move differently, not randomly, deliberately. A man hesitates before walking away from a deal he's made 1,000 times before. A woman turns down a street she's never taken. Small choices ripple outward, invisible but real. The city tries to compensate. Emergency protocols trigger. Corporate zones seal themselves off. Data centers flood with noise as executives attempt to reassert narrative control. They speak of terrorism, of system failure, of external interference. None of it lands. The illusion is gone. Ciri moves through the city one last time, not hiding, not hunted. The dampening fields remain inactive. The pressure never returns. Night City watches her go, uncertain whether pursuit is still possible. She reaches the edge of the district where the towers thin and the lights soften. The rain finally stops. Ciri pauses and looks back. Night City still stands. Corporations still rule. Violence hasn't vanished. Exploitation hasn't ended. This isn't salvation. It's possibility. The editor never returns. Whatever he was, man, machine, function, he was built to maintain certainty. With certainty broken, he has no place to exist. Ciri understands something. This world doesn't need her to stay. It needs her to leave. She doesn't belong to this future any more than she belonged to the last dozen worlds that tried to cage her. Staying would only let the city adapt again, rebuild its chains stronger, smarter. But now it will have to do so without inevitability. Ciri steps into an empty intersection where the air feels thinner, weaker. She closes her eyes and focuses not on escape, but alignment. Finding the fractures between moments, the places where worlds brush against each other. The green light returns, faint at first. Night City's systems register it too late. Space bends. Ciri looks up one last time, white hair stirring in the breeze that carries the city's distant hum. "Learn," she whispers. Then she's gone. The fracture seals behind her without violence. Night City exhales. Life continues. Deals are made. Towers glow. The city resumes its endless negotiation between power and survival, but something subtle has changed. The future no longer feels owned. It feels contested. Somewhere, long after Ciri has vanished, a child makes a choice that shouldn't have existed in any projection. A small one, a meaningless one. Except that it isn't. Night City will never trace it back to her, but the city will remember the moment inevitability failed. And that memory will haunt it far longer than any blade ever could.